Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you for not calling me the black face of white supremacy, as did the LA Times. I'm coming to you virtually because we spent a whole day campaigning in New Hampshire, trying to get the last flight out of Logan to come here, and it was canceled. We then tried to get a train. It was canceled. I'm blaming Mayor Pete. Now, why am I running? My father was a World War II Marine veteran. He was the first black Marines. They were called the Montford Point Marines. He served his country. My older brother, Kirk, was a Navy-era Vietnam vet, served in the Sixth Fleet in the Mediterranean. My little brother, Dennis, was actually in the Army, and he went to Vietnam. I'm the only one who never served in my family, and I've never felt good about that. This is my opportunity to give back to a country that I love so much, that's been so good to me and my family, and that is why I'm here. I know I have something to contribute. I know I have something to say. As regards 45, I think President Trump did an amazing job, and I think he would do an amazing job were he to be reelected. And in the event that he's both nominated, I will absolutely support him and campaign for him if asked to do so. Here's my issue. I believe there are so many voters in swing states, particularly female voters in the suburbs, who would not vote for the man if he walked on water. In fact, if he did, they'd accuse him of not being able to swim. I have no idea what to do about Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe someday somebody will develop a vaccine. But I ask all of you who are supporting Donald Trump or who are supporting somebody else the following questions. Have you lost friends because of Donald Trump? I have 3 friends I've known for about 40 years each. We cannot speak to each other because I supported Donald Trump, campaigned with him. Are you now walking on eggshells at work because of Donald Trump and you can't have candid conversations? Do you have strained relations with family members and relatives because of Donald Trump? If the answer to those questions is yes, Houston, we have a problem, and that problem is called electability. I believe at some point during this very long process, Republican voters are going to realize they need to coalesce behind a candidate whose last name is other than Trump, but who has the same America First policies on the borders, on judges, on being pro-life, on supporting school choice, on stopping this nonsense that America is systemically racist, on stopping this attack against police officers, on continuing the policies that gave us energy independence, on lowering taxes, on lowering regulations. We're going to need somebody around whom the Republican Party can support, but for whom a sufficient number of swing voters can vote so that we can win in November 2024. It's all about electability. And I'd like to make the case that I'm that person around whom people ought to rally. To that point, I'm urging 40,000 people to go to my website, elderforpresident.com, make sure I'm eligible for that first debate in Milwaukee. You can give as little as you know as $1. And at the very least, I'm going to get up there in that debate stage, and I'm going to talk about a few issues that our side, in my opinion, does not address enough. Number one, the lie that America is systemically racist. It's not just a lie. It's not just offensive. It's not just pitting blacks against whites. It is getting people killed. How? It's called the Ferguson effect or the George Floyd effect. When you accuse the police of being systemically racist, they pull back. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are now dead who otherwise wouldn't be dead, but for the fact that the cops are not doing their normal proactive policing. And guess what? The majority of these excess deaths are the very black and brown people that people on the left purport to care about. The other thing is this. We have to have school choice, particularly in urban America. There are 13 public high schools, I kid you not, 13 public high schools where 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Another half a dozen, only 1% can. That's nearly half of all the public high schools in Baltimore, all of which are located in the inner city, where either 0% or only 1% of the kids can do math at grade level. This is beyond intolerable. It is a crisis. 53 government schools, that's the term I prefer, government schools in Chicago, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Again, all of these are located in the inner city. Nationwide, according to the national report called the National Assessment of Educational Policy, the National Report Card, 85% of Black eighth graders, these are kids who are 13 years old, can neither do math nor read at grade level. Half can't even do basic reading, which means a substantial percentage of Black kids in America are functionally illiterate. Yet the Democratic Party is adamantly opposed to school choice, where the money follows the child rather than the other way around, because they're wedded at the hip with the teachers' union. And there was a study some years ago where government school teachers were asked, if you have school-age kids, where do you put your own kids? Nationwide, 10% of us have our kids in private school. 49% of Philadelphia government school teachers with school-age kids put their own kids in private schools. In Chicago, it was 39%. That's the equivalent of opening up a restaurant, putting up a sign saying, come on in, eat the food. We sure won't. The people who know the school system the best, the teachers, aren't putting their own kids in it. And then there's the 10,000-pound elephant in the room that our side does not talk enough about, their side does not talk at all about, and that is the epidemic of fatherlessness. In 1965, 25% of Black kids entered the world without a father in the home married to the mother. Today, that number is nearly 70%. Nearly 50% of Hispanic kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. Today, 25% of white kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. 40% of all American kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. And the stats are clear. If you are raised without a father, you are 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What's happened? With the so-called war on poverty that's been launched in the mid-60s, we've now spent over $20 trillion on fighting poverty. We've incentivized women to marry the government. We've incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. Every one of these kids in America who's growing up without a father needs to have a mentor. I liken it to AA, where if you're a recovering alcoholic, you have a sponsor. Every one of these kids needs somebody that they can contact, talk to, who can provide them guidance and counseling to make sure they do the right thing. There are plenty of men who are now retired with a lot of time on their hands. Many of them are baby boomers. They should get involved, and I will encourage that. Also, we're spending a great deal of federal dollars on fighting poverty, and these dollars are often inefficiently spent. We should encourage taxpayers to be able to check off on their own tax return where they want that money to go, whether it's religious organizations in their own community that are doing this kind of work, or nonprofits in their own community that are doing this kind of work. We need to direct those funds so that we can affect change and make sure these kids have mentor and get the kind of counseling so they do the right thing. This is a marvelous country. Fatherlessness is not a death sentence. My father never knew his biological father. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade. My dad started a little cafe in his late 40s. When he retired, he owned that property, the property next door, plus the house that's still in our family. He retired with a little less than $1 million net worth. That's what can happen in America. That's why I am running to encourage us to work hard to stop the nonsense about America being systemically racist, to address the need for school choice, and to combat the breakdown of the nuclear intact family. We've got a country to save. I'm ready to serve. Thank you so much for listening to me. God bless.